Do you plan to leave a legacy? What does that mean to you? You may be planning on leaving a huge legacy to your children, or you may be wondering if they're going to inherit all of your debt, and you may be more worried about what's going to happen after you pass away. Let's look at both scenarios and see what the future holds. Let's get started. Please don't forget to subscribe for more videos on money, minimalism, our travel journey around the world. We publish a video every week. So while around 70% of young people are expecting an inheritance, only 40% are actually getting one. The lesson and the takeaway there, have the conversation with your kids so they actually understand and know what they're getting and figure out what you're getting, if anything. If you don't know what you're being left, expect the worst, but hope for the best. Before we get into the how much should you pass on question, let's talk about the what will you pass on question. Will your children inherit your debt? This is a common fear, but mostly an unnecessary one. To be concise, your children are not going to be responsible for the debt that you leave behind in the majority of cases. Most debt will typically fall to the estate. The estate will pay what they can, things will be sold, debt will be paid, and the rest will typically just go away. If you leave credit card debt, even if your child is an authorized user on the account, they still typically will not be responsible for that debt. That being said, oftentimes the creditors will come after your children for that debt illegally, and they may have to get a lawyer to fight it. So hopefully the best case scenario is to just not leave debt. And if something happens and you get sick, or you're in a situation where you think you might not have much time left, just take your children off the account as an authorized user to prevent them having to deal with any heartache after you pass away. It'll make their life easier when they're already dealing with the burden of losing you. For medical debt, insurance covers most of it, the estate pays for the rest of it, and the rest of it goes away and isn't passed on to your kids. With one exception, some 28 US states have so-called filial responsibility laws, which can be traced back to colonial times and in theory impose a duty on adult children to support their impoverished parents. I'll put a link below where you can see all the states with filial responsibility laws. Watch out for that, check what your state does, and plan accordingly. Even if your state does have these laws, that doesn't automatically mean they're responsible for your medical debt. So do your research, and if you need to, talk to a lawyer. If you have unpaid taxes on a home involved in the estate will pay those. If you have a house left over and you will it to your children, then your children will take on the payments if it's not already paid off. And if it wasn't willed to your children, if maybe you were upside down on the house or you just didn't want to put that burden on them, then the bank will take the house back. The bottom line, most debt is not going to flow down to your children. So check with your lawyer and review your will, because you want to leave your children with the things that you intend to leave them with and not anything else. Now that the negative stuff's out of the way, let's venture into the good stuff. Let's talk about a legacy. How much legacy to leave? That is the question. A quick Google search will reveal about 1,000 different answers because it is an important topic and everyone has an opinion. And when it comes to big decisions like this, it is good to get as much input and as many opinions as possible so you can make an informed decision. Warren Buffett's view on the inheritance he tends to leave has gained popularity. His plan is to leave his children with enough money so that they can do anything, but not enough that they don't have to do anything. Buffett plans to donate most of his net worth to charitable causes, a noble gesture to be sure, and his children are still taken care of. Many of the world's wealthiest people want to give their kids the gift of being self-made, but typically with a boost. But being self-made lets them learn the values to get there. It's like how Jim Rohn says, you don't want to become a millionaire for the money, you want to become a millionaire for what it takes to become a person who is a millionaire. So while most of us aren't the wealthiest people in the world, we still do get to choose the legacy that we leave to our kids. Leaving a legacy is your decision. And if you have a legacy to leave, it's up to you on whether all of that, some of that, or none of that is going to be passed down to your kids. Granted, the first step would be to make sure they're financially responsible enough to take care of the money that you're leaving them. Leaving a large legacy without having a conversation or an idea about future plans can be a major initiative sucker from your kids. Most millionaires are self-made, and there is a reason for that. Leaving a legacy to kids who are capable means that you're probably going to be leaving a legacy for generations to come. Leaving just a whole bunch of money to kids with no guidance, direction, or knowledge of financial responsibility will almost guarantee that the legacy stops with you. So be intentional with what you leave behind. That's the big idea. There's no right or wrong answer here, but there is a responsible and an irresponsible answer. If you're intentional and you leave a planned legacy, you're doing the responsible thing. If you unintentionally let whatever happens happen, you're doing the irresponsible thing. I'll put a really good New York Times article below in the description on some ideas when it comes to leaving your legacy. But just for some sources, you can always see what other people are doing, pray about it, talk to your mentors, talk to God, talk to your kids, and get guidance from the Holy Spirit. You won't go wrong with a well thought out, intentional, prayerful decision. Please subscribe for more of these videos on money, minimalism, our travel journey around the world. If you are interested in raising intentional children, check out my book, Intentional Children. I will put a link to that below. That is all for today. I will see you next week.